Sex and the City tells women indirectly to stick by the bad boy because in the end it'll be worth it. Not true. And a relationship with him would be unstable and uncertain. He never respected Carrie's boundaries. Are you stuck in a relationship with Mr. Big? Here are some great self-exploration exercises for you. I'm Jasmine. I provide online support services for those needing help during rough times. I provide the usual online services of video or online face-to-face, email, phone, instant message or chat. So just head to my site. The link is in the bio if you'd like to make an instant anonymous booking. If you're new to my channel, welcome. You'll find I like to talk psychology. I psychoanalyze phenomena relevant to our everyday lives, and it allows you to have a better understanding of your own behaviour and the behaviour of others. I think this kind of knowledge should be available to everyone. It's really interesting and it'll hopefully improve your quality of life too. No matter what the topic, I always tie it back to you and how you can use the information to apply it to your own life in a positive way. Feel free to comment on a topic you'd like me to discuss. I'd love to hear different ideas, so I would love to hear from you. So today, I thought it would be fun to talk about how Sex and the City might have changed women's attitudes towards relationships. For an extended analysis, including a more in-depth Mr. Big psychological profile, a trauma exploration, including how untreated trauma may have been triggering and therefore maintaining their possibly toxic relationship, then please subscribe to my Patreon. The link is below. Sex and the City was an incredibly influential and successful show which ran from 98 to 2004. Then there were two terrible movies made as well, but the show was phenomenal, truly. It had its fair share of criticism still, but surprisingly, not for the problem that I picked up. Critics picked up on Carrie being obsessed with men and also the obscene consumerism within the show, and then made even worse in those movies to a point of vulgarity. So the show, yes, had its flaws, but the key flaw that really sang to me was what Carrie and Big's relationship represented.
Well, if Muhammad won't come to the mountain.
Now, the movies, they were so bad that I'm not even going to analyze the terrible being stood up at the altar, then all is forgiven with a pair of blue Manolos at the end, or how Carrie cheated on Big with Aiden in the last movie. And the best way to handle that is obviously through buying a black diamond ring for someone who cheated on you as a reward. These movies were egregious, truly. So just for the shows for today, essentially to sum up Big, he is an emotionally unavailable man, demonstrated in countless ways through his running away to Paris as a way of distancing himself from Carrie due to his fears of true intimacy and love. Then he's been married 3 times, with the first 2 marriages showing evidence of infidelity. He's also a bit of a loner, doesn't have a lot of friends. If I were treating him and I was giving him a diagnosis, I would explore possible anxiety, evidence through his avoidance behaviours, avoidance of intimacy and just close companions. He may have self-esteem problems too, despite the fact that he is, you know, Mr. Big, with all his successes that come with that. Often when we struggle with intimacy, it can be because we don't think that we are good enough and that the person that we're with, when they've spent enough time with us, they will see through that. So then they might leave or they might cheat. I would explore childhood traumas and avoidance behaviours related to anxiety, which is usually a symptomatic of childhood traumas too. But the salient point I want to make today is that he struggled with intimate relationships, and this was very clear. It was very, very clear. It was clear his heart was not on the market, and a relationship with him would be unstable and uncertain with limited intimacy, and he never respected Carrie's boundaries.
You do this every time. Every time! What, do you have some kind of radar? Carrie might be happy it's time to sweep in and shit all over it? Cannot do this to me again! You cannot jerk me around!
Carrie, listen. It is different.
Oh, it's never different. It's 6 years of never being different.
We all know this guy. The guy who cheats, that's emotionally unavailable, that's had multiple relationships and none of them have lasted. He's a guy who only wants you when he can't have you. He won't respect your boundaries at all. He's the guy that you stay away from. We all know that, and we all know that if we or one of our friends was in a relationship with that guy, it's not going to end well. It's just not. They're a red flag, if anything, and you stay away. I know my analysis before may have you thinking it's not his fault he's this way. You can heal from trauma and you can relearn new behavior. Correct, 100% correct. But it takes therapeutic work, and there was no evidence of that here. His interest in Carrie only reignited when she was ignoring him. This is a repeated pattern, and he wanted her when he couldn't have her. And the way he took off to Paris to steal her away from another man, it suggests to me this was a big power play, and it would have left Carrie with little choice in that matter. So in that situation, she would have had little choice. And just because he had support from Carrie's girlfriends does not excuse that this was quite a dramatic and unhealthy move. Carrie was quite capable of rescuing herself in that situation, of returning to New York and considering a relationship with Big on a more even footing. Not when she was stuck in Paris and vulnerable. Fortunately for Big, it was a moment that he could rescue her. So realistically, things would not have worked out between them. So basically in Sex and the City series, we see a toxic relationship. I believe it's a toxic relationship between Carrie and Big. And we see her obsessing over him. We see their relationship be at a cost to her self-esteem, her mental health, her relationships with others, not just other men, but even her friends. He really had her on a leash, and he could just pull the leash in when he wanted and let it be free when he wanted to. This is not a man who is good for us. And in reality, when you're with a man like this, it rarely ends well. So this leads me to the whole point of this discussion today. Sex and the City sends out a clear and incorrect narrative that if you keep sticking by this guy, if you keep allowing yourself to be stuffed around by him, let him breach your boundaries, be neglected by him, ruined by him, then in the end, there will be a happy ending. That is so far from the truth. If you stick by a guy like Big, you're just going to get hurt. There is no happy ending for you, no happy ending for both of you, I'm sorry to say. Men like that, they drain you, they make you feel like you're worthless, and they take a toll on your mental health. That should be the message. Not that you'll end up happily ever after. You shouldn't believe that if you just keep putting up with the man and his faults, like serious faults, he will change. The back and forth, the breakups, and getting back together, it changes your brain. It creates chemicals that your brain associates with addiction, and soon you begin to see a reward with that type of relationship dynamic. It's not healthy. You deserve better. Carrie deserved better. I really want to challenge that narrative. Sticking it out for years for a man who doesn't love you, where you break up and get back together, that won't respect your boundaries, does not mean eventually you will win and he will love you and everything will be magically okay. It doesn't work like that. Sex and the City tells women indirectly to stick by the bad boy because in the end, it'll be worth it. Not true. It actually would have been a nicer ending to see Carrie on her own, all self-sufficient. But I get it. We are still in the program to see a love story in order for a happy ending. Even I wanted them to get together, and it was not until I started to study psychology and do treatment that I was able to see things differently. Mind you, I love the show, but in psychology you're taught to adopt a scientific mind and question everything. You need to know how to look at things from different angles and just to question every truth, because it can actually turn out to be untrue. So are you stuck in a relationship with Mr. Big? Here are some great self-exploration exercises for you. Imagine that you're capable of putting up boundaries. What are your thoughts? Do you think, oh no, they won't like me if I have boundaries and stand up to them? If so, you were probably in a family with an enmeshed relationship dynamic where there were no boundaries, and you probably received more love for having no boundaries and maybe even punished if you tried to instill them. The thing is though, people who respect your boundaries are the people that you should associate with. If your Mr. Big leaves you when you have boundaries, then maybe this is a good thing. Maybe you will now attract the right partner and someone who is better suited to you and more respectful towards you and your boundaries. So one great way to create boundaries is to first learn how to pause. Pausing creates a barrier between you and them, and between you and your instant learned reactions or behavior, and adopting new methods of how to respond. Discover how your body reacts to things. There is a part of you that feels discomfort with someone that's like Big, or when someone violates you, but you may have learned to silence that voice. But through pausing, you might notice a tightening in your chest, maybe a body ache or a voice within you saying no. So pause, learn to tap into those feelings. These behaviors are the ones you want to put boundaries up against. Then you want to enact these boundaries as step 2. And 3, maintain them. Some are masters of bringing down boundaries, plus you may have associated boundary crossover with reward. So it'll take some time to work out how to do this, but it will be worth it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today. Please, if you've got a friend who loves Sex and the City, share this video or tell them about it. Offer a different perspective to keep loving the toxic guy and it will work out narrative. We need to put that to bed. Again, I offer online help and support to work through any issues you may be having, specializing in trauma work and understanding how that could be affecting you even now. The link is in the bio for an anonymous booking, and I offer phone, email, instant messaging, and video conference. Take care.